Yo, before we get into today's video, I want to give you guys a little heads up about a situation that's been plaguing the YouTube comments lately involving WhatsApp accounts, basically saying that you've won a PlayStation 5 or something similar, and it looks a lot like my account, like some fake giveaway thing, and that's essentially what it is. It's a fake giveaway. There are thousands of accounts right now that are spoofing basically other YouTubers and telling people in the comments section that they won something such as a PlayStation 5. It is not me. It is, this bot that's happening, and they're trying to get your information by using WhatsApp. I don't even know how the hell to use WhatsApp. I tried to talk to a guy in India about a cartoon about it, and I couldn't figure it out. So if you see anyone in the comments section that looks like me saying, hey, you won something, a PlayStation 5 or something via WhatsApp, it's not me. Please do not fall for this scam. It is just a scam. All of my giveaways I announce on the channel, or I talk about them on social media, and there's a link that you have to click in order to enter it. Those are the valid links. These things are just fake, so please don't fall for it, guys. I want you guys to stay safe, so yeah, just a little heads up there. All right, so this is a topic that I touched on earlier this week and said that I might make a full video on it over the weekend, and I have indeed decided to make a full video on it, and that is involving the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, the sequel to Breath of the Wild for the Nintendo Switch. It's been a very interesting timeline for this game. I honestly didn't think it would take this long to come out, but we're obviously having to wait a bit longer. And since then, there's been a lot of speculation that's been coming to us from basically Digital Foundry saying some very interesting things about the textures used in the game, the volumetric clouds that they noticed in the sky. And basically, now we're coming to a point where a lot of people are thinking that this game is not coming out on the Nintendo Switch, the standard vanilla Nintendo Switch model. This will be a game for a extended system, a Switch Pro, a Switch 2, a successor potentially. And this is a topic that I want to talk about a little bit more in depth because I really don't believe it. I really don't think that that is indeed the case, and I want to tell you guys why I feel that way. So essentially, when you look at Breath of the Wild and the sequel of the game, it's been an interesting road. This game, of course, was originally supposed to be just a Wii U game, and then, of course, the Wii U was kind of a colossal failure, and so they also brought this game over to their new system, which happened to be the Nintendo NX, which of course was indeed called the Nintendo Switch. Now, looking at that version of the game, you could tell that the game was designed with the Wii U gamepad in mind. If you played that game on the Wii U, the gamepad actually had a lot of fun functions. I mean, the Sheikah Slate was essentially the gamepad, so you could tell that this was a later decision down the road when they realized, hey, you know what, we're putting a lot of time, we're putting a lot of effort into creating, a really large scale Zelda experience, so why not bring it over to our new system as well? We could figure out, the Sheikah Slate controls, which I think they did a decent enough job for the Nintendo Switch version of the game, and then we got that game. But of course, everyone kept thinking, what's up with the sequel to this game that really expands upon it, that really utilizes the Switch system more so than utilizing the Nintendo Wii U, which, a lot of people just didn't have. We saw some little teaser trailers for this game. We got a trailer at last year's E3 presentation saying that this was going to be a 2022 game, and speculation started running rampant. This was a huge game. Is it going to come out in the spring of 2022 to coincide with the original launch of Breath of the Wild in March of 2017? Well, time has come and gone. We got a little bit more of a little teaser trailer at a Nintendo Direct in the month of September, and of course, the game has been delayed until 2023. Now, this necessarily isn't like a new topic. I've actually talked about this, the potential for this game being a Switch 2, a Switch Pro, a Switch successor exclusive game. You could go back, I think it was like a year or so ago, and this was a topic that had sort of come up because a lot of people were thinking that there were some rumors out there that this was going to be designed for that system in mind, to utilize more power and more strength to make a, more vast open world, a more interesting open world. So we're now at the point where these rumors are once indeed and back again because of a report done by Digital Foundry. Basically, they were talking about Breath of the Wild 2 after the delay was announced for the game, saying things like, well, they noticed stuff in the original trailer of the game. They noticed a lot of things that, you know, might not necessarily work on the Nintendo Switch. Things such as volumetric clouds, which is like a vast cloud system in the game. Obviously, this is a game that's going to be taking place on ground and in the sky because of the teleportation stuff and going through, you know, physical objects. We do know a decent amount about the game. A lot of it is coming to us through patents and stuff, but there's been a lot of clues. There's been a lot of, you know, things that you can discover by rewatching the trailers over and over again if you're a hardcore person. Now, when it comes to Digital Foundry, I definitely respect them. I think you have to respect them because, you know, while I don't like that a lot of people like will wait for a Digital Foundry analysis of the game to see if there's like frame rate drops and stuff like that, because that's not what they're really there to do. They're really there just to talk about performance overall, to give you guys information. But a lot of people sort of live and die by a Digital Foundry analysis, which I think is bizarre because we've all played games that run really smooth that, you know, suck ass. We've all played games that maybe don't run so good, but they're still great games at the end of the day. So it's more of there just as a tool for you to, you know, do what you want with that information. But I don't think it should be the be all end all thing. Now, when it comes to Breath of the Wild 2 being a Switch, you know, new system exclusive, that's where I have some problems though, because looking at what we've seen from the game thus far, yes, it does look very impressive, but there's actually another game that was rumored to be like a Switch successor launch title because of the way that the game looked. And that game was, of course, Mario and Rabbids 2. You know, when you looked at that game during the initial trailer, it was like, wow, this game looks really good. There's some very interesting things happening here. This looks like a game that might struggle on the baseline Switch. So is this sort of an indication that this is going to be a title for this new potential system? Now, as far as we know, as far as updates have been given, this is still on track to be a 2022 game. And I really don't think we're getting a new piece of hardware from Nintendo in 2022. So, you know, if we're taking that into consideration, we have to say, well, you know, this is going to be on the baseline Switch, so we have no reason to really think otherwise. Nintendo themselves haven't given us a reason. If the game gets delayed until 2023, we can sort of revisit this topic, because then, you know, you kind of got a little more smoke with it. But as it stands now, this game is scheduled to release in 2022. But I think the bigger picture is when you look at 3D Zelda games that have released towards tail ends of systems life cycles, not necessarily saying that the Switch is at a tail end, but I feel like the standard Switch hardware that we have might be kind of, you know, be at the tail end of its life cycle with a more powerful system coming along, an upgrade, maybe not a full-on successor or something like that. The games always release on the baseline system and then come over to the new system. You know, it's just what Nintendo tends to do. Looking at the Wii U with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, that game came out on the Wii U, but it also came out and sold best on the Nintendo Switch. Looking at Twilight Princess was originally just a GameCube game that was then also being developed for the Wii, and we saw the sort of differences with that game, and that was actually a bit more of an undertaking because, you know, while graphically speaking, the jump from the GameCube to the Wii was minuscule at best, the control scheme had to be completely redone for the Wii version of the game. And I mean, that was actually the version of the game that I played, really enjoyed that game. I love that game once again on the Wii U. But with these games, they always come out on the system that they were originally designed for. And when you look at something like Twilight Princess, when you look at something like Breath of the Wild, the main difference between those games and the sequel is that there was no engine that was already built for these games. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't a sequel built upon the same engine. Twilight Princess was a new engine. Breath of the Wild obviously was a new engine. They managed to put both of these new engines on their new hardware, whereas Breath of the Wild 2, for all intents and purposes, is a sequel. We already know that they're using the same base game engine in this game, so why would it all of a sudden be too powerful for the system that it's designed for in mind? Now, really what it boils down to for me is I am someone who thinks that there is new Switch hardware coming. I honestly feel like we could see it in 2023, and I don't think it's going to be something that will cannibalize the Nintendo Switch. When I look at the system itself, when I look at how Nintendo has handled this system, one thing is clear to me: you don't want to alienate the people that you have right now. You don't want to do it. Obviously, you'll want exclusive games eventually for your system, but with so many things out there, like the AMD Fidelity FX stuff that we've talked about, with stuff like, you know, NVIDIA's DLSS technology, the way Nintendo needs to go, and I honestly feel like they're going to go with their next system, is an upgrade. An upgrade that can do things in terms of visuals, an upgrade that could do things in terms of maybe different gameplay styles, but it's not going to alienate the original base. It'll just run better. It'll run better. And looking at Breath of the Wild 2 from the trailers that we've seen, I mean, it's impressive, but I could say that there's more impressive games that we've seen thus far on the Nintendo Switch. I mean, you look at something like The Witcher 3, I think The Witcher 3 is doing a lot more. You look at games like, of course, Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal, and it's like, I mean, these are big games. These are bigger games that really have no business being on the platform, yet here they are. And they're running really well, especially all things considered that they're being done natively for this system. So, is Breath of the Wild 2 getting pigeonholed as a new Switch exclusive? Is it only going to be available on this new piece of hardware? I honestly don't think so. I honestly don't think so. At the very least, if it does coincide with new hardware, it's still going to have a version for the standard Nintendo Switch. In my mind, it'll play the same version of the game. It'll just run it better on that system. You know, we've seen games like that with the 3DS, where Nintendo has done things like that. And actually, one of those games was a Zelda game, Hyrule Warriors Legends. It kind of ran a bit sloppy on the standard 3DS, but on the new 3DS, the incremental upgrade to that system that was not a full-on successor, it did indeed run a lot better. Now, the new 3DS did have some exclusive titles, so you know, that's kind of another caveat with this whole situation, but I just find the whole discussion interesting because it really is coming from, you know, some sort of off-the-cuff comments about things that Digital Foundry saw in the trailer, but I feel like, you know, Digital Foundry does know some things. They know quite a few things, but I don't think that this game is too big for the standard Nintendo Switch. I think it will be on the standard Switch system, and I wouldn't be surprised if this launches without any new hardware attached to it. If it does have new hardware attached to it, that's fine, but the game is still going to run on your vanilla Switch, and I just can't imagine a situation where it doesn't. And if it does have a situation like that, I mean, well, that's a hell of a debate at the end of the day, isn't it? But Nintendo fans, don't be worried. Don't lose sleep over this. I am 99.9% sure that the Breath of the Wild sequel will run on your stinky vanilla Nintendo Switch that you've had since day one, that has crust in the corners on it. Clean your damn system, clean your damn hands. But what do you think about this situation? Do you think that Nintendo could pull a fast one on us and put this on a new piece of hardware? Have you seen things in the trailer that obviously I haven't seen that make you think, oh, this has to be a game running on this new system? Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Like I said, don't fall for those WhatsApp, you know, scammers out there. Screw those guys, pieces of shit. It's so disgusting that YouTube is like so stupid and can't figure out anything to do to get rid of those. But please don't fall for those. I want you guys to stay safe. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.